Hello and welcome to episode 6 of MTG Vintage Flashback. I'm your host Mike, and today we'll be going over the origins of Magic's nightmare plane Phyrexia, and how it is related to the Thrawn Empire. As mentioned in episode 4, The Antiquities War, Urza and Mishra's obsession with the ancient Thrawn Empire and their inventions led to the discovery of the Caves of Koilos, and a domino-like series of events that have influenced the multiverse's events for thousands of years. Phyrexia is an artificial and originally unnamed plane that was created by an unknown planeswalker who is only described as being evil. Hopefully this character will be more firmly established in the future. Within this hellish realm are grand artifacts and biomechanical creatures whose appearance can easily be described as, well, creepy. It was not always like that though, and for an unknown amount of time was much like the artifact plane of Mirrodin. That would all change sometime after a few medical eugenicists were exiled from the Thrawn Empire. The Thrawn Empire was a Dominarian civilization that existed for around 200 years after its capital city of Halcyon was established. Their culture is known for its use of grand artifacts powered by devices known as Power Stones. Artificers and their magical craft used for medicine were largely backed by the elite of the Thrawn. On the other hand, a school of eugenicists began to form opposing views. These people preferred to find use in mechanical medicine, including surgical procedures and the concept of germ theory. In order to suppress dissent, the Thrawn elite exiled portions of the rising lower class, including these eugenicists. One of these doctors was one of Magic's most recognizable villains, Yawgmoth. Not much is known about his origins, but his obsession with viewing the human body as a mechanical masterpiece influenced many of his evil actions. While in exile, Yawgmoth experimented with plagues which he set upon various cultures including dwarves, elves, and Vayashino. Meanwhile, in Halcyon, a new disease began to greatly affect the lower classes, a disease known as phthisis. Phthisis is described as a degenerative and contagious disease, somewhat like leprosy, which was discovered to be caused by Power Stone radiation. This disease mainly affected those who lived under the mana rig which produced Power Stones, a class known as the Untouchables. However, the catalyzing event involved Glacian, lead artificer of Halcyon, contracting phthisis through contagion during a riot. His wife Rebek overrode the Elder Council and sought to bring Yawgmoth back from exile to help cure her husband. Yawgmoth accepted this, and through his medical skills and political dealings he expanded his influence throughout the Empire. During this time, Yawgmoth would have his first encounters with Gix, who he used to maintain social control over the lower classes. There was a Thrawn planeswalker by the name of Dyfed who became interested in meeting Glacian after his public announcement in which he proved the existence of the multiverse. It is also said that she was aware of Glacian's latent planeswalker spark, though he would never ascend nor be aware of it himself. Yawgmoth, then head of medicine for the Empire, came upon their meeting and became extremely interested in Dyfed's abilities. Charmed by him, Dyfed sought to find a plane where Yawgmoth could create a paradise land for the Thrawn people. She would eventually discover an artificial plane with 9 concentric spheres. This plane was shown to Yawgmoth and explained that its creator had died and that he should take control of the plane before it started to decay. Glacian's condition continued to get worse due to a previously unknown sliver of Power Stone that had remained in his wound. In order to further solidify his own power, and possibly due to his romantic interest in Rebek, Yawgmoth banished Glacian to the Caves of the Damned, later known as the Caves of Koilos, where the Untouchables generally resided. Meanwhile, the Thrawn Alliance formed of those people who had been affected by Yawgmoth's research while in exile, and demanded he be removed from power. The council vote was split and broken by Rebek and Yawgmoth himself. He then overthrew the council and declared martial law. Dyfed used a pair of Power Stones to create a portal to the mechanical plane, and Yawgmoth encouraged those with phthisis to go there in order to be cured through a process he called phyresis, which replaced decaying parts of organisms with mechanical parts. This became the basis for the plane's theme and name of Phyrexia. To finish the job he started, he placed those power stones inside of Glacian's wound, which ultimately killed him but trapped his life essence. With the permanent portal in place, Yawgmoth fused himself with the plane and became its spiritual god. Now that the Thrawn Civil War had broken out, Yawgmoth's power began to be unleashed upon the Alliance. Mass destruction weapons and deadly gas clouds decimated their armies. Those that supported Yawgmoth began to feel great regret, however. The artificers in charge of the Stone Charger weapons ended up sacrificing themselves and using the machines to destroy what was left of Yawgmoth's troops and most of Halcyon. This launched the Null Sphere into orbit, thereby turning it into the Null Moon. Dyfed, realizing what she had enabled, went to Phyrexia's court to confront Yawgmoth. Pretending to agree, he showed her the experiments he performed on Alliance delegates. While in shock from the horror, he lobotomized her with a Power Stone blade to disable her in order to research what allowed her to planeswalk. Rebek found her, killed her researchers, and removed the blade to end her misery and complete her death. Disgusted by Yawgmoth's work, Rebek retreated back through the portal to Dominaria. There, Glacian's essence was able to communicate with her and instructed her to use the Power Stones to seal the portal to Phyrexia, at least until Urza and Mishra discovered the stones 5,000 years later and sparked the Antiquities War. That's it for this episode of MTG Vintage Flashback. What do you think about Phyrexia? It happens to be my favorite plane. If you liked this video, please hit that like button down below. If you'd like to know when our new videos come out, be sure to hit subscribe and sign up for notifications. Watch the Flashback playlist to brush up on your Magic history. Thanks for watching.